Hey everyone, it's Cameron from Stock Explaining. We're just going to go ahead and take a look at some charts. Today was one of those days where the reaction I think everyone least expected happened. Now, yesterday we talked about in the Discord when we were doing our analysis, we mentioned that there was a triple top on both SPY and QQQ. And while we had a bullish bias going into today, we basically made it very clear that, if SPY or QQQ didn't break above those levels and hold, that we could see a flush down like we saw today. Now, obviously, it is definitely, a good sign when your analysis is correct, but a lot of us were still not expecting the reaction to be this aggressive. And I think right now, as a swing trader, it definitely is concerning where you have these insane, you have SPY moving 3.5% yesterday, and then today you have SPY dropping 4%. QQQ moving 4% up, and then today moving down 5% and having its worst day since March of 2020. So it's kind of just these things that I think definitely affect people psychologically. And where we go from here, we're going to obviously take a look at the possible scenarios, but I mean, you always have to have your tap dancing shoes on. And there's right now talks about potentially being in a recession. Some would even argue we are already in a recession. So that's just kind of some food for thought. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you'll remember, I had this QQQ over SPY chart, and we talked about how previously, during the last FOMC, we had a breakout with QQQ leading the way upwards, and that triggered, a pretty strong bull rally into early April. This time, we almost seem to be shaping up in a similar way, but notice this massive bearish engulfing candle. And, it did not shape up how we thought it potentially could. So this was definitely one of the indicators I was watching. But, now that we got this rejection, and, we're going to take a look at QQQ as well, definitely did not play out how bulls wanted it to. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting observation. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this video pretty quick. I don't want it to go over 10 minutes. So basically, the big takeaway, we had this triple top that we identified yesterday. We talked about how bulls still had proving to do because they were not able to break above 429.74. Not only would they need to break above it, but they would also need to break above, retest it, and hold that level before making it move higher. So you can see with the arrows, we identified the triple top, didn't break above it. We got a pretty harsh rejection. And now I've gone ahead and kind of drawn this kind of support level right here. Now it can really go either way. But just know that we could still form a lower or a higher low on the hourly chart and even the daily chart. Despite today's crazy bearish action, yesterday gave us enough of a cushion where, believe it or not, we still have a potential higher low forming. So the ideal scenario for the bulls is they can kind of get some sideways action right here, and then they could push upwards towards 429.74. Write this level down, 429.74. Until we break this level, the trend overall is still going to be bearish. Okay, you need to break 429.74. That would give us an hourly trend change, and that could really help shape up a good trajectory for the bulls. As long as we don't break this level, we are still in the downtrend. Now, for tomorrow, here's what I'm kind of watching. Obviously, 429.74. But really, I'm watching this hourly 50 SMA. If we can at least hold above 416.71, I think that could kind of help us get that sideways action needed to potentially break out here and retest this level. The other level I'm watching is 409.37. That was the low we made today. And it also corresponds with the low that we made way back on February 24th. If we break this level, the next level of support is going to be 405.02. So I would definitely be watching 409.37 and then 405.02 in terms of support. And then in terms of resistance, it's going to be 416.71. And then we're looking at about 425 and then 429.74. QQQ, very similar situation. But QQQ actually shaped up better initially. That's what we thought. See, we had a triple top as well, and the triple top was at about 330.25. We seemed like we were going to break out here, given that we were holding this 200 SMA on the hourly. But we completely broke down, and bulls just got decimated. Bears dominated for the rest of the day. Now, very similar to SPY, the level I need to watch here is 309.62. 309.62, interestingly, we actually made a double bottom here because this was a level that we last tested back on May 2nd. So while it wasn't that long ago, that was actually the lowest level we saw QQQ at. So 309.62 is what I would be watching. If we test this a third time, remember, the more times we test this, the more bearish it's going to get, because if we keep testing it, it's kind of a sign that we're probably going to break through it. So 309.62 is what we need to hold tomorrow. If we can, then we can make the case that, we could kind of draw the bears kind of sideways and then maybe again work our way back up, get that positive trajectory. But first, bulls need to go into defense. They need to hold this level. And if they can, then we can make the case for going upwards. But until they do that, nothing is still valid. And again, even if they do make a push all the way up, remember, 330.25 is a triple top. We have to break that level. Once we break that level, then we get the hourly trend change, and then the bulls can really start working with it. But until then, it's just going to be lower highs, potentially, that could form. And if we do get lower highs, then there are going to be areas that bears are going to be looking to short. Now, if we do break 309.62, most likely our next level of support is probably going to be around $300. That's our natural level of support. If we switch to the 4-hour chart, this area would roughly coincide with top of this area of support on this channel. So interestingly, whenever you get these channels where they break out, when that resistance flips, when that resistance breaks, a lot of times you tend to get a flip back into support, which I think is kind of interesting. Example is right here back on April 28th, and then again on May 2nd. It is possible we retest an area by a lower Bollinger Band limit. That would be around 304.8 to 305. That would also be a level I would watch. But broad target is probably going to be natural support around 300. Now, we could move lower if we break through 9.62, because look, our RSI is definitely not oversold. Okay, not even on the hourly, we're not even oversold. And we had a 5% drop, which is just insane. And that just goes to show how yesterday's move upwards cushioned today's fall. Despite today's fall being worse, our RSI is really not that beat up. Now, I will say one thing that is kind of interesting is our RSI on QQQ made a low on January 27th, while the price of QQQ has consistently been going down. This, technically speaking, could be a bullish divergence, which does indicate a potential move upwards is coming. I don't know when that would be, but it is just something to keep an eye out for. Okay, we're going to take a quick look at IWM. Not a whole lot to say. We rejected off of this double top that we had. IWM has not been a lead bear. It has not been a lead bull. There isn't really a trade here for me unless we get daily oversold conditions, but we still have a ways to go. Definitely be very picky with your growth names and be very picky with your small to mid cap names, okay? Because this chart overall does not look that good. And it's highly dependent on SPY and QQQ. Whatever direction they go, IWM will follow. But again, IWM has really been lacking in terms of performance. All of 2021, it was basically just range bound. Then we finally got a breakout in what seemed like November, and then we just gave it all back and made a new low. And it looks like we're kind of range bound again. So not a whole lot to say here. Again, support I would be watching is 182.38. That was our low we made on May 2nd. But today we technically did make a lower high. So our level of support to watch going into tomorrow is going to be if bulls can defend 183.38. 183.38 is going to be your level of support to watch going into tomorrow. Now, until bulls break above 196, until bulls break above 194 and hold that level, then we can make the argument that we can make a push towards 196 and maybe even 200. But they have to break past this double top. And they haven't done that yet. So anything below this double top can be considered a lower high. Okay, the VIX. Not a whole lot to say. We broke out of this hourly channel, but we managed to reclaim it. I talked about how there was a possibility for a far from moving average trade to play out. And not only did we get a far from moving average trade, but we got a massive move up, and now we have a lot of room to work with. Now, the VIX obviously is incredibly volatile. It can have these days and have these movements, but we are back in the support channel. The big question now is, if we do get a green day tomorrow, can it hold? If it can hold the support channel then and hold above 30, then I think we can make the case that the VIX could be moving higher. We could see elevated volatility, and we could see more uncertainty and more fear in the markets. So that's just something I would be a little aware about. It's kind of fascinating. Today, we actually got a rejection right off this mid resistance level. I just kind of thought that was interesting. We do have a bit of a spinning top on the 4 hour. That is a bit of a warning. So I would definitely pay attention to the VIX. If the VIX falls out of the support channel again, I think that is very bullish for the markets. And that could be a sign that potentially we might have found a bottom. Okay, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin did not have a good day. Yesterday we moved up about 2.98%, I believe it was, and today we've just kind of given it all back. Massive. So I believe, actually, I take it back. Yesterday we had a 5.18% move, and today we had a 7.94% drop. So again, it's that thing where it's a situation where you have one step forward, two steps back. The price action has not been so good for Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, again, long term, we know where this asset is going. I've said it 100 times. I'll say it again. We know long term the probability that Bitcoin is going to move higher is much greater than it moving lower. And I will leave you with this. Historically speaking, and shout out to Ben Cowan. I was watching some of his videos, and he actually pointed this out, and I actually went ahead and tested it myself, and I noticed that was very true. Basically, anytime Bitcoin has fallen below the weekly 100 SMA, that has been the best time to accumulate. I'll repeat that again. Every time Bitcoin has fallen below the weekly 100 SMA, that has historically been the best time to accumulate. And we can even go back and see previous examples. I'll go ahead and hide these other moving averages. This white line is the 100 SMA. So let's go back to, I believe it was November of 2018. We broke below that weekly 100 SMA. We were below it all the way up until about May. So about 8 months later, we ended up, about 7 months later, we were back above it. And by then, anyone who bought below, you were buying at around $3,000 to $5,000. Plenty of time to sell for a profit. I think Bitcoin made a high of made a high of about $13,000. So plenty of time to take profits. Again, we fell below in March 2020. We made a low of $3,850. Went briefly below that 100 SMA on the weekly, and then we've continued above it ever since. People could have bought between $3,000 all the way up to about $7,000. And obviously Bitcoin made a high of $69,000. Absolutely insane. But the point still stands. So technically, if we do drop below this, I would not be worried. This would be a level of accumulation. But just know that if we drop below this, Bitcoin's dominance relative to other coins is going to go much higher. And when that happens, that tends to correlate with absolutely compressed prices for a lot of altcoins. And we can see that today. I mean, Bitcoin had this massive drop. And I mean, look at the altcoins today. We had Ethereum drop by 6.54%. So Ethereum actually, interestingly, held up better than Bitcoin. But let's take a look at Solana. Solana dropped 8%. Luna was down about 4%. So actually not too bad. Interestingly, so far, it looks like altcoin valuations have held up better despite Bitcoin falling. That could be due to the fact that altcoins have been constantly falling. But I will just say, if we do get another flush lower and another move lower, then it is a possibility that you see altcoins see that compression and move lower. So just be ready for that. Really be picky with your altcoins. If you're going to buy them, this could be the most opportune time to do so. But just be very picky. Make sure they have good tokenomics, good teams, good vision, good use case, and their adoption is increasing. And last but not least, I'll leave you with this. If you look at Bitcoin on a monthly chart, technically speaking, you write this down. As long as we hold above $28,800, as long as we hold above this level, Bitcoin is in an uptrend on the monthly chart. And as long as that level is held, technically speaking, we are still in a bull market. If that level is lost, then I would be, a little more concerned. But until that level is lost, we are in an uptrend. So I'll leave you with that. I hope this video was helpful. So this video is going to be available for Discord members. And by the way, it's free to join the Discord. You get all the analysis delivered right to you every day. So this video is going to be available to Discord members only at first. And then tomorrow, I will make this video public for everyone else on YouTube. So if you want access to this video early, then go ahead and click the link in the description below. You'll get access to everything in the Discord for absolutely free. If you do want trade alerts, then it's $30 a month, but you are under no obligation to pay for trade alerts. You can just come hang out. We'd love to have you, and we want to build a community. So I don't know what tomorrow has in store for us, but we have the possible scenarios in mind. Let's see. I hope you have a good trading day tomorrow if you're going to trade. If you're not going to trade tomorrow, I just hope you have a great day in general. And I will see you next time. Take care.